Hello there YouTube, Eric McRae, Asparagus Party here. Thank you for joining me today in Eric's Anime and Gaming Commentary channel. So I'm getting into the third part of a series outlining my official YouTube strategy and giving a little more background on the meta. There's not much left to be said now that I think about it, but there is something important to outline, and that is that the meta is not static, the current one being YouTube Shorts. So I just ask you to look a bit back in the timeline and consider when YouTube began and first picked up ground, going way back. I probably would have been in high school at the time. There was not a shorts meta, and how YouTube operated was quite different. And YouTube certainly did change over time, and there'd be certain time periods where the meta is one thing or another, where there's more or less focus on SEO and search engine optimization, tags and terms and things like that. It does sort of morph over time, and so YouTube certainly did not start in a shorts meta. I don't expect in 10 years, or 5 years even, it'll still be a shorts meta, and I certainly doubt it will end in a shorts meta. That's the thing with these kind of concepts where YouTube tries to break into a ground of something that's become popular in the interest of competition, and maybe later over time realizes this isn't like the miracle it's made out to be. Metas do tend to change over time, just like a game where one build of character and skills might be popular and then becomes less popular, something new arises, the system is tweaked, and something that was once working good breaks, and something that was once kind of weak becomes strong. I don't expect the meta to be purely static and unchanging, so I don't think it's necessarily the most wise thing to build around something that is subject to change anyways over a course of time. So yeah, that's why I don't focus too much on pleasing meta. That's really all I have to say on the meta for now, because whatever else was missed was really covered either in the previous video through what I said or through the little textual notes on the screen there. So the next major component of my YouTube strategy is basically the rule: operate within your means, doing what you can actually afford and handle, being wise, operating with the domain given to you in your current power, capability, reach, affordability, so to speak. And there's a lot of ways to break this down. I think everybody would understand this as a good rule of thumb. I'd be amazed if anyone questions it, but I can give you some examples. So right now my computer is hot locked to 8 gigabytes of RAM with my current motherboard. I don't think I can spare to buy the new parts, like a new motherboard or this or that, to upgrade it right this moment, but I would love to produce better gaming content. However, then you stop and you ask the question, okay, maybe right now I can't play 7 Days to Die or like the latest, I don't know, Crisis game or whatever is new that needs 12 gigabytes of RAM just dedicated to the game or something like that. If I cannot play that, can I come up with a list of games that are within the bounds of what I can do, that are able to, that I can conceptualize myself marketing as a gameplay video, as a kind of hangout video that people would enjoy? And you can go through a question like that in multiple ways. I think we'd all agree the answer is going to be absolutely, since there's a lot of people watching Corey Kenshin play games that at times are more like 2 gigs graphics and still enjoy it just because of his personality. There's a lot of factors here. If you wanted to go into a route of breaking it down to popularity and demand to meet a momentary trend, again, I'm not always big on buckling over to the trends, but there are times where it can be wise in certain scenarios. Well, you could absolutely do that within this question. So you come up with a list of games you can run with like a 2 gigabyte video card and 8 gigs of RAM, and you select the ones that are more likely to succeed in achieving some amount of attention, if that's your route, and you can do that. Otherwise, you can just select things that you enjoy and are able to market out, and trust that even though it might not immediately get reach, over time, as 1 or 2 of your videos get popular, people will go back and watch those as they get familiarized with your channel. That makes perfect sense. Another sense that this applies is I like to use, this is so relevant for gameplay kind of videos, gaming communities, and anything of the sort, right? Because you have a certain library, right? So in other words, you pop open your Steam, and instead of thinking, I want to play this, I want to play that, have you done videos of the games you currently possess, assuming they're not so radically obscure that there's not no profit in them. So for example, with me right now, I can pop up my Steam tab. I'm just going to go through it real quick. Yeah, that's not the one I want. There we go. Now my Steam library is not at the moment massive. Some of the games I'll leave out because I don't think they're known enough to really be worth it, but 7 Days to Die, I probably can't play it right now too well because of the RAM, but I have Darkwood, Grim Dawn, Eternal Return, Path of Exile, Torchlight 2, and again, I can easily expand that. There is a certain budget I can afford to dedicate for buying new games to do gameplay videos if I feel it has a chance to be worthwhile. Or else, think about this. Within the realm of games that are offered that can be played for free, are there games that you can afford are there games that you could see yourself playing, since they're obviously affordable, that are within your limitations of what your computer can handle? What kind of free games could you play? For example, Rumbleverse is a pretty fun game to play, a little fighting game, and I can sort of somewhat handle it. I have to do a test run with recording. It has ups and downs of times where it's hard for me to handle it on my computer, but still, there's a lot of actually good free games that people, if they enjoy your personality, enjoy the content you're making, they will want to see those videos. And of course, while I used a lot of gameplay examples, that really just applies to pretty much anything. Your video editing, the effects you use, if you want to introduce hand-drawn art into your videos, you have to operate within sort of a means and a budget that's kind of wise, that is what you can afford. You don't want to be constantly taking on new debts to go to new heights in the hope that your channel will explode, because if it doesn't, you're just left with the debt. That is probably one of the most key and critical rules to apply yourself to in the pursuit of success. Mind you, it's not to an excessive degree. There are some people who are so min-maxing micromanagement on the numbers, they'll hold themselves back from doing something a little risky when it's actually necessary. So you've got to find a reasonable balance, and it's up to you to use wisdom, discretion, and your independent learning to figure out what that is. So the next one is that I will be breaking my videos into parts which serve as promos or teasers linking to the full video. And I've already been doing this. It's not a big shock. You see like 2-minute, 3-minute segments that are broken off the full video, which might be like 30 minutes to an hour or anything like that. And that way it's still not on the level where I'm just appealing to this 60-second or less short meta, but I'm still making a promo that might pick up steam a little better and draw attention to the video I want to be watched, because people do have a need to see videos that aren't going to take up too much of their time, to get in a sense of, are you a content creator that's worth engaging with? Are your videos worth watching? A little 3-minute video can tell a lot for someone. So I believe that's useful, and I do engage in that. Here's another big one. What about discriminatory algorithms and the fear of them? Cancel culture, woke culture, things like that, or any reigning body that gets control of YouTube, however it happens, whether it's woke today or something else tomorrow, that is going to run a censorship algorithm, or could potentially do it, or get away with doing some amount of censorship that is really outside of your power. And we're talking about the more radical forms of shadow banning, where you can't even tell you we're shadow banned, where, for example, limiters are placed on your video's visibility that you have no way of knowing those even exist, where you're still able to comment on videos, post videos, and whatnot, and really your channel has been tampered with, and there's no way to know it for you. This has been a real fear for me, because obviously I've made videos speaking out openly against YouTube's trust and safety team for having engaged in things like this at the past. And obviously, if you're part of a system or an algorithm tied to those people who maybe not or are not looking to take criticism, perhaps I would be at risk of this. So in other words, I don't know. I just pray to Yahweh God through Jesus. This is one of those things that I've accepted. This is not in my power. If I just worry so much about this point, discriminatory algorithms, in other words, I'm looking at my channel, I'm looking at my YouTube videos, and I'm looking at the view counts, and I see, I had this explosive growth where things really go up, and then they just start going down, and I'm starting to suspect, okay, did I get shadow banned at that point? I don't want to be a guy who immediately rushes to assume that. I don't think it's wise, because you can take dips for a lot of reasons. Even if you're producing content that might be calling out YouTube's bigwigs get with their hand caught in a cookie jar or something like that, there's no guarantee you're just shadow banned instantly or even detected in the system, especially when you're that small. So in other words, obviously there's a risk here then, because if you're smart, you don't want to dedicate hours of your time making videos on a platform that's just going to set up some stupid bot algorithm to target you for political opinions, shut you down, but also not be open enough, be so cowardly and not open enough to tell you to your face, but leave you with the sense that you could do something with them and succeed with them, so you just waste your time on their platform making videos in vain. No one wants to fall in that, and I don't want to see anyone fall into that. But on the same hand, if you have no way of knowing it, at least not immediately, it's probably not worthy of so much worry. So I just pray to God. I give this one to him and say, can you, in my prayers, I say, can you please help me with this if this is a risk for me, because I don't want to invest in a platform that will do this. I don't know what these people do in the background or if I can trust them, but I trust you, that you're in charge, you're in control. Please help me with this. And I leave it in God's hands. I just put that issue far away from me, because there's nothing I can do about it. The most I could do about it is start producing videos on other platforms, BitChute, Rumble, etc. I've thought about this, and whether that'll be profitable or not, I don't know, or even if the other platforms are viable in terms of their reach. But regardless, I'm not going to spend time stressing about something in vain. So moving forward, of course, as it's pretty obvious from the totality of the videos I produced, and I mentioned this, I think, in the first video on this series, maintain openness, honesty, and transparency. If you have budgetary issues producing the type of videos you want to produce, but you have the goodwill, feel free to let your viewership know. Why not? If you have something went wrong, this just happened to me, so I wanted to do a RAM upgrade. I can even pull this over here if I don't knock it over. I have 4 of these guys, nice 8GB RAM sticks, just arrived, DDR2. My computer's DDR2, but apparently because of some other setup on it, they cannot fit into my computer, so I cannot even upgrade with those. So I made a video saying I'd be getting upgrades. I was super excited about it, but the only thing that got an upgrade in the end was my hard drive, not my RAM. I have to buy new parts to make that viable, and that's not in the plate right now. So yeah, I'm open about it. I don't try to put forward a secret image and, deceive people about my wealth level or make myself look more imposing or impressive or needful of their attention than I really am. It is what it is. I don't want to be like an obsessive control freak that thinks I can make everything work for me all the time. And that's really it. That's just about it. That's the whole of my YouTube strategy. To summarize this whole YouTube strategy in one phrase, do not kill your soul for money. In other words, you're hoping that your YouTube channel will explode, get millions of views, and you're starting to compromise to every monetary trend of every fad, everything that people want you to be and want you to do and want you to produce. And again, this is part and parcel of a kind of unhealthy culture where you sort of have these two radical ends. So in one radical end of humanity, you get this sort of socialist, communist, control freak concept that the woke culture, as it's called, has been manifesting. But on the other hand, you do get a radical capitalist interpretation that takes monetization too far, where you basically prostitute yourself for money, and you'll do anything for views that theoretically get you money. You have like people becoming porn stars and producing some of the most foul porn by porn standards stuff imaginable that probably shouldn't exist, all for the sake of some cheap dollar gain. I mean, that's degrading. You're killing yourself. You're destroying yourself. It does not make sense to kill yourself for money. You're trying to make your mind into some kind of adult infant-like character at times where it's not even natural, or you're not even normally able to do so, by brute force to entertain a bunch of people, because that's going to bring you the money. It is true that in life you do have times where you have to do certain things that you don't want to do, but there are times where it's absolutely taken too far, because again, as I mentioned before, the problem, the exploitable point of supply and demand economy is demand can be artificially generated. This is why so many advertisements rely on some of the most heinous concepts of psychological triggering and manipulation. And if you can gain the self-control to get some immunity to it, you're probably in a good place. But at any rate, yeah, I think about these things deeply. I try hard to come up with a concept of who I am, or who I'm going to be, what I want to be. And for me, I have no problem manifesting a fun side of me where I make fun of myself, laugh, because it is natural at times. But there are times where I'm in my serious mode of thought, and it's not joking time, and I'm not going to censor that to appeal to view counts or anything like that. And so my whole methodology suits that. So that's pretty much it. And yeah, I don't really have anything more to say on the topic, so thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you so much for your time and your patronage of my channel. I truly appreciate it, and I really do believe one day this channel will explode into what? 10,000s, 100,000 views? I don't know. But I have this faith and confidence that if I produce meaningful, useful videos of the content that people need to hear, that they'll find value in it at some point. So that's what I'm looking forward to, that future. And so thank you guys. God bless you. Have a great night, and I'll see you next time.